Hello everyone, welcome back to the 9 Acres. So a little different video for everyone today. We're not outside.
It's a little bit chilly out.
It's a little bit chilly.
We just did chores and it's a little bit cold out there.
Which is fine. Spring is going to eventually Spring
will come and stay one day instead of just.
But they're talking like this weekend. We're supposed to have like 18-degree weather again.
It's supposed to be cold.
So a little bit scary for us to be doing any kind of garden work right now. But our adventure from today, and we thought we would talk about it because we get lots of questions about this, is about our pork and what you get when you get a hog from us. So we get lots of questions about our hogs and what you get when you get a hog from us, or how it works. So
we're going to try to explain this to you the best we can.
We're going to try to explain you something.
Try to learn you something here.
Yeah, I used to have a guy that used to always tell me, he's like, come here, let me learn you something. So come here, let us learn you something. So we wanted to talk about, we just got a hog processed, sent to freezer camp. Part of it we sold to someone else, part of it we kept for ourselves. And that way I've got a good comparison of what it's costing our customers when they get a hog from us. Now, my figures are going to be a little bit askew because the numbers change as feed cost changes on us, as the cost of us acquiring feeder pigs change. We have to adjust for that pricing. So right now there's some things that we need to establish with you guys. First of all, we generally never send a hog to freezer camp here on the 9 Acres unless it has roughly a 300-pound live weight. Let's establish first, what's the difference between live weight and hanging weight? Live weight means when Mr. Piggy is out walking around and rooting up the ground.
Very much alive.
And very much alive, tail wagging, happy as can be until it's one bad day. That is live weight. So when the pig is alive. Hanging weight. A lot of people are really confused what hanging weight means. Hanging weight is once that animal has been dispatched, they've removed all the internal organs, its feet, and the head. Then what is left hanging on the rail, so thus the reason why they call it hanging weight, is the hanging weight. Now, how do I know how much hanging weight is, Nana? Do you know?
Is it? No, I really don't.
Well, let's let everybody figure it out. So, hanging weight for a hog, good hanging weight, or what is considered a good cut out rate for that carcass, is if it has a 70% hanging weight. So that means once it's hanging on the rail, it will weigh roughly 70% of its live weight. So if you want to know how much hanging weight to expect from one, say you would call up the 9 Acres or send us a message and say, hey, I want a hog, then I would tell you, well, most all of our hogs are going to weigh right at 300 pounds, or this one's going to be 250 to 270 or 290. Then you can do some simple math there. Take that live weight times roughly 70%, and that should give you about what your hanging weight is.
Right.
We retail hogs here on hanging weight. So, for instance, and I'm going to put some of these figures up here. They'll be floating around us so that you guys can see some of the redneck math here. So a 300-pound hog at 70% is going to be roughly 210 pounds. Okay? So when we tell you it's a $1.35 hanging weight, you'll take that 210 times 1.35. And then that will give you the price of the hog. But that's not everything. So once you've done that, yes, you've taken care of paying for the animal itself.
Yeah.
Then you have to pay the processor. So our processor, we use a few different processors around. Whatever processor in your area. So if you're establishing this business and you're wanting to know how to do this, you need to establish a relationship with a reliable processor.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people want to talk about that, oh, well, I can do it myself. We can do it ourselves.
I can do it myself easily.
Yes. The problem is that a lot of people don't take in consideration, do you have a very large cooler? Do you have somewhere that you can
hang
the carcass and let it chill or cool? We're talking 300 pounds of hanging meat.
Yeah.
You're not going to do that in your Coleman ice chest.
Exactly.
Now, you can, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it can't be done, but you need to take in consideration that. Do you have meat saws? Do you have bone saws? Do you have plenty of sharp knives? How are you going to package it? How are you going to keep bugs and pests and make sure that it's an extremely clean environment when you do it? Now, if you're just doing it for your own family, maybe you're not as worried about that kind of stuff as others are, but you have to remember, I'm selling to people all over.
Yes.
So if you're wanting to retail it to others, you need to make sure that you have an established, inspected locker. Now, like I say, we've established relationships with 2 to 3 of them. Why do we have so many?
Well, because it's kind of hard to get into our lockers, our local lockers.
Okay, let's talk about the world melted down due to some unforeseeable sickness in the world.
Before that,
it was easy.
You could book yours
we could make a phone call
a week ahead of time.
A week out and say, hey, I got a hog that I need to get in. They could get us in roughly a week to 2 weeks. No problem.
Now it takes months, if not a year, to get in.
I called up for this particular hog to get it into the one locker that we do a lot of work with, that's very close to us, roughly 5 miles away. And they've been very, very good to us.
They are awesome people.
They're awesome people, but their date to get it in, this was a month ago. So we're talking like end of January, 1st of February, I called in and they told me the nearest date, the quickest they could get it in, was like the middle of June. Well, if I had a beef, I could kick it back out there on the grass and go, no problem. That's okay.
But when you got a hog, when a hog's ready, a hog
is ready. You cannot do that. So quickly we had to start going through our other lockers, and fortunately we found one that had an opening in roughly 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So we tried that one for this time, and we've been very happy so far.
Yes.
But so you make the appointment at the processing facility. You take the animal in. They take care of dispatching. They take care of the processing.
Yeah.
Most of them, if you want to take part in that, if you want to see your particular animal processed as far as the dispatch, as far as to see what it looks like, all that, they would be more than happy. Just speak with them to allow you to observe your animal processed.
Right.
Now, once that animal is been dispatched and hanging weight is established, generally most of those processing facilities will let a hog hang 3 to 4 days.
Yeah.
Okay, enough for that carcass to completely chill or freeze, soft freeze to a point. Then they will start processing out those cuts of meat. That does a couple things. That process of hanging and going through that will help with the tenderness of the meat because it goes through rigor mortis. The next thing is that helps establish, once it goes through that freeze, to kill any kind of pathogens that could be there.
Yeah.
Now, here, drum roll. What do you get for, or what do I do once I get it to the processor? So, I'm going to attach right here for you guys, for you to see. This is the cut sheet that you fill out when you take the animal in, or say I take the hog in there for you to be processed for you. That locker will call you and will ask these pertinent questions.
Yes.
So if we look on this cut sheet, right now they start off with, it's your name, your phone number. Pretty self-explanatory, right? They have to be able to get a hold of you, let you know who it's for, and your name will be attached to that portion of that hog the whole time. It asks you if you want the offals or the innards, the liver, all that. And so if that's something that you're interested in, the kidneys, you say yes. If you're not interested in any of those, you put no. So then the next thing it asks, do you want pork chops? So you're either going to get pork chops or you're going to get a whole loin and sirloin portion or roast. So you either answer yes or no. We always get pork chops, so we always answer yes. And then we always tell them what thickness we want those cut at and how many we want per package. So if you're a family of 4, you're gonna tell them to package them in 4, so you have a pork chop per person. If it's a family, if there's just 2 of you, you don't want 4 pork chops in a package, because 2 of them will go to waste, or not waste, but you'll have to figure out what you're going to do with those other 2. The next thing it'll ask you is if you want pork steaks. You either answer yes or no. Pork steak comes from the shoulder of the hog. Some people call it the Boston butt. So if you want a Boston butt to smoke, then you would answer no, and you would get a whole pork shoulder. If you want them to cut that into pork steaks, then they will cut that into steaks. You tell them the thickness and the quantity per package you want. Do you want ribs? Yes or no? Well, that is, you'll have some things to give up on the ribs. So either answer yes or no. Is ribs something that's important to you? Hams. So do you want your ham cured or uncured? Now, cured ham is what you're used to when you go to the store and you buy ham.
When you buy ham and you think of ham like sandwich ham or anything
like that.
That is
cured ham.
That is cured ham.
Uncured means it has no curing on it whatsoever, and it'll basically be
just like a
pork chop or a pork steak.
Yep.
So you answer yes or no on it. We always get hams cured, and then we have them cut those into ham steaks.
They're really good for breakfast.
Now, the next question it asks is loin. So if you answered yes to the loin and yes to pork chops, they're going to start questioning you, because you can't have both. You'll either have a loin or you'll have a pork chop. The next question that we get asked a lot, we always talk about pork burger is what we call it, or ground pork. So we always get ground pork instead of sausage. We figure we can season our own or make our own breakfast sausage from the ground pork, but by leaving it as ground pork, it gives us so many more options for that. We can utilize it in place of hamburger. We can make breakfast sausage out of it. We can do all kinds of things with it.
Yeah.
So it's either and or on it. Or if you are taking the whole hog, you could have half ground pork, half
sausage.
Breakfast sausage.
Yeah.
Now, if you'll notice on this sheet, there's extra charges there if you get these additional items.
Yeah.
The next one is bacon. So bacon, if you want bacon, of course, it's cured bacon, just like what you're buying in the supermarket. So if you're familiar or like that, then you would get bacon. If you don't want bacon, you could get what's called fresh side. Yep. Fresh side means that they slice it like bacon. They slice the pork belly like bacon, but they do not cure it. Or you could get the whole pork belly all as one for you guys that like the pork belly smoke ends or burnt ends. Now, roast. So the way that we typically get ours cut up with staking all of this, having pork chops and pork steaks and ham steak, we don't end up with a lot of pork roast. In fact,
we don't end up with any.
We don't end up with any because we have them grind to balance.
We don't really eat roast.
We're not really big on pork roast.
So it's more beneficial for us for them to steak everything they can and grind what they can't steak.
And then pork cutlets would be, that would basically mean that they would tenderize your pork chops.
And I have a tenderizer here. I can just...
We have our own tenderizer, our own hammer. We tenderize it ourselves. Now, one thing that goes along with that bacon, that we always request, this new locker that we went to, they're a relatively new small locker. I said, well, I would prefer jowl bacon. Jowl bacon comes from the jowl portion of the pig. And they cut out the whole jowl, and then they cure that just like the pork belly to make bacon, so you get jowl bacon, or some people call it hillbilly
bacon.
Hillbilly bacon. Yeah. It is smaller pieces, but we really like it. Now, so that's your cut sheet. So you're gonna go through and answer those questions, and if you don't know what they mean by those questions, just ask them. They will help you out with that. Don't guess, because you don't want to spend the money for this quality animal and then get things that you don't like.
Right.
I mean, all you have to do is have the conversation with that person on the phone at the processor and say, hey, this is what we like to eat.
Yep.
Can you tell me what I need to cut? Or ask the person that you're sourcing that animal from.
Yep.
So back to that. Let's do the payoff here. So our hog, we had a 214 pound hanging weight. Now that's both halves. Okay, so a half of that hog was 107 pounds. So we sold one half to an individual at 107 pounds. So all the rest of these figures are going to go off of a half.
A half. The half we just
if you're a family of 2 to 3, a half will last you quite a while. If you have other additional protein, it could last you up to 6 months.
Right.
If you're like us, that we solely live off of that half, roughly, then it's only going to last us a couple months, at the most. So what do we get for that 107 pounds of hanging weight for that half? Well, here's the packages we got. We got 10 packages of pork steaks at 2 pork steaks per package. Okay, so if I look at it that way, for a family of 2, a couple, I've got 10 meals there of nothing but pork steaks.
Yep.
Then I have 11 packages of pork chops at 2 chops per package. Then we had 11 packages of ground pork, 1 pound packages of ground pork. So I got 11 pounds of ground pork. I've got 6 packages of ham steaks, 2 per package.
Now, all of these, like the pork chops, the pork steaks, and the ham steaks, there was 1 package of each of those that had 3.
That did have 3 in it.
Yes.
Then we had 4 packages of jowl bacon. We had 6 packages, 1 pound packages of bacon. Plus we had ham hocks and ham trimmings.
Mm-hmm.
So all the other parts and pieces. Now, that was 107 pounds worth. For a 8 cubic foot freezer, it's pretty much all it wants.
Yep. It held, I mean...
We have very little room left in it.
Yes.
Now, so we've now established what hanging weight is. We've told you what comes in that half. Now, let's get down to what you're really wanting to know. How much did that half cost me? That half at 107 pounds would be sold to you at $1.35 a pound. So that's $144.45. Now, everyone here is going, whoa!
Yeah.
That's pretty cheap for 107 pounds. Wait.
That's what we sold it to you for.
That's just the animal. Now you have to pay that processor that processed that for you for that 107 pounds. That portion of it was $140.25. So we now have a total of $284.70.
Yep.
Now, if we take that divided by our 107 pounds, we end up with a price at $2.67 per pound.
That's still a pretty good price.
That's a good price, and actually, it's cheaper than the grocery store is.
Yeah, you
the
go
last
look at prices
that we bought
at the grocery store.
It was close to $4 a pound.
Yeah.
So that being said, we're probably still a little cheap coming from the business side of our farm and our bottom line.
Right.
We're probably a little cheap, but because we know we are offering a superior product, because we know it was overly loved, well taken care of.
Yes.
Antibiotics.
No, they didn't have any antibiotics.
They were wormed. We did do parasite control with them. And all natural feeding.
Yep.
So, not certified organic, but all natural feeding. So, we're really happy with this. And I hope that you can see from this that this is very capable to do. And for your budget, you're looking at, for some people, that's a couple months worth of food there. That's pretty cheap on your budget.
Yeah.
When you look at it that way.
$284.70. Not everybody has that laying around.
But I can also tell you, most
people, then when they get them from, is they're planning ahead.
They're planning ahead and
able to save it up.
I know for us, we've worked with other people and said, hey, you pay us a little at a time till the animal's ready to be processed. When the animal's ready to be processed, then you don't have to worry about paying for that.
Yeah.
You just have to worry about paying for your processing fee.
Right.
Or they just budget it back and save it up at the time. And of course, if you did a whole hog, the number's relatively double.
Yeah.
Now, I think you can see from this that this isn't gonna, So for those of you who are like, I'm going to get my own hogs and I'm going to start raising them and it's going to be really, really cheap. It's not.
And no, it's really not, because the price of feed is outrageous.
So you have to find a really good feed supplier that is a relatively inexpensive feed, but quality at that, in order to make this work.
Because if you're going to sell to the public, you want good quality.
You want good quality feed.
You want to be proud of your product.
We help supplement ours by putting them out in pasture.
Whatever table scraps we can feed them.
We go ahead and do feed, table scraps to them, garden scraps, things like that. And that, of course, helps. That helps on the feed some. But
not
really,
a lot, but
really, it takes that whole grain feed to feed those hogs to get them to finish weight.
Yeah.
I hope that this is like shed some light for some of you out there and answer some questions that you have had. If you've got any more questions, feel free to leave us a comment below.
Or shoot us an email.
Or shoot us an email. Our email's on our About page. Until next time, we encourage you guys to reach out to a local farmer or someone, get your own quality, do your own research, answer your own questions.
Yep.
And if we can ever help you, reach out to us.
We are always here to help anyone.
Yes. So until next time, farm on, keep strong.
We love you.
And so does God. Have a good one.
Bye.